An Easter celebration turning violent after a police officer was shot in Lake City. Officer Marcus Hardison was shot in the arm while trying to break up an argument. It happened last night at Andy Maddox Park. Right now, police are still looking for the person who pulled the trigger. A 2-year-old killed on Jacksonville's west side after finding a gun and accidentally shooting himself. Police responded to the home on Calvary Drive to find the child suffering from a single gunshot wound. Both parents have been interviewed by police, but so far no arrests have been made. JSO says it is working with the medical examiner and the state attorney's office on this investigation. And police are also investigating a shooting where 4 officers returned fire after they say the suspect shot at them. Investigators say a man in his 50s fired at the officers. Police have been called to his home off of Atlantic Boulevard for what they're calling an armed suicide threat. The man was hit in his torso and is in critical condition.
Thank you, Anthony. So a violent weekend on our First Coast. So let's talk with our crime and safety analyst, Ken Jefferson. We appreciate your being here.
Sure.
As Anthony just mentioned, police have to handle mental health crisis. So that's our topic right now. A man was shooting a gun last night off Atlantic Boulevard, and JSO said the gun was this one right here you see in this graphic. His family called JSO and said he was talking about hurting himself, and then people at the scene said that he did fire shots at police. So the question is, how are police at JSO trained to de-escalate mental health situations?
So what's very important in these type of cases is the information that the officers really receive prior to arriving on the scene, the information that they get from the dispatcher. So they knew that they were walking into a very volatile and dangerous situation with an armed person threatening to do harm to himself. So the officers have to take a tactical approach to make sure that they're safe and others around are safe, because you're talking about a residential area in that particular case. And so they take that tactical approach, means that they're ready to take cover, they're ready to fire on the individual if it becomes necessary. It became necessary because the individual took a shot at the officers, and the officers have to return fire to stop that particular threat. So they're trained, everyone is trained on how to handle mental health issues with individuals at the academy, and then they receive refresher training every year on how to handle those things.
So in a mental health crisis, you talk about the training of JSO officers, but there are also civilians, right, who are mental health experts, but they can't come right away, correct?
No, they can't go into a volatile situation like that. That's why the information passed down to the officers are very important. You don't want to put a non-trained civilian person go in there to try to counsel a person who's already threatened to do harm to themselves or others, and they have a weapon and they can carry out that particular threat at any time. So they'll get into a very volatile and dangerous situation if they would be sent into that situation. And
you may be wondering about families. We get this question often. Families say they're scared because they're scared anyway because the situation is violent, but then they think, if I call police, oh my gosh, maybe the guy I like, I care about, I love maybe, makes the wrong move. Police could kill him, and I don't want him dead. I just want to get help for him. So what do you advise to families?
Well, you know, it depends on the circumstance and the situation. If they're just not being violent and making statements that they want to do harm to themselves, they may be able to call someone else, a professional, out to help them. But you have to call the police to intercede, because it can, in an instant, turn very violent. It can turn in seconds on the person that they're talking to. So you have to have professionally trained law enforcement officers really to be able to come out there and help. And it's important that when they call the police, they give them all of the information about the individual. Police aren't there to harm the person. They're there to try to de-escalate them and try to give them that help. But when it turns south, if you will, and a weapon is introduced, then the police have to act.
So from your experience, what information do people leave out sometimes that they need to tell?
A history of violence, sometimes maybe schizophrenia, when they're talking calmly one time and all of a sudden they change in an instant. That can be very, very dangerous to officers and anybody else.
And speaking of danger to officers, how do police balance keeping themselves safe and also de-escalating the situation?
Through training and refresher training every year, because you have to go over it constantly. You've got new officers coming in every year, and you've got your seasoned officers that have to be refreshed or go through in-service training to get the up-to-date information that they need to use, the new tactics that they may be able to use or whatever. So they're constantly training, they're constantly improving on how to handle these issues, because it's a very dangerous issue that officers have to go into.
Well, we appreciate your expertise, Ken. Thanks so much.
Sure.